Doug, thank you so much for the introduction and welcome this afternoon to another webinar about Flanders. Thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to follow along. And today we'll talk a little bit about the hidden treasures of Flanders. Now, one might be able to argue that Flanders as a whole is still a hidden treasure, but we will dive into the hidden treasures within Flanders. As Doug said, if you followed along the previous presentations, there are what I would call now the usual suspects. Great gastronomy, the beer, the chocolates, the art, the heritage, the great cycling, and also the fashion that we've talked about in the past. So this is just a very, very quick recap, but also not to forget the Flanders field sites, still very popular nowadays with the tie into World War I. But today we really want to talk about the hidden treasures because there is a lot more to see than just the usual suspects. So the hidden treasures, we'll take a closer look, no pun intended with the picture here, at our geography and the nature, at castles, at dining. We'll dive a little bit more into cycling, although that is one of our usual suspects. I still feel after talking to a lot of you and the advisors that there's still some requests for information out there. There's still the need to dive a little bit deeper into the cycling aspect. We'll talk a little bit about shopping, about family-friendly travel, accessible travel. We'll also talk a little bit about comics, then move on to museums. We'll talk more than just beer, festivals, and last but not least, an airline. Yes, an airline is also a hidden treasure in this presentation, in this webinar. So let's just quickly talk about the geography and nature aspect first. The geography is very important because a lot of people still don't really have a full understanding of where exactly we're located, how far are the distances from other cities that your guests might visit. So we are literally in the heart of Europe, we're the center of Europe. Flanders is very, very close to Amsterdam, London, Paris, Cologne. So these are all, again, I would call like the usual suspects that a lot of European travelers want to go to, they want to see. But we're just less than 2 hours away from all those great, great cities. Overall, Flanders is a small destination. All of Belgium is roughly the size of Maryland. And then Flanders in itself is about the size of Connecticut. So very small, which offers a great amount of flexibility for hotel stays. It doesn't really matter in what city you stay. And there's overall 6 major cities. So why don't we just take a look at a map so the abstract concept becomes a little bit clearer. So here, the yellow part, that is Flanders. It's the northern Dutch-speaking part of Belgium. And the southern part is the French-speaking part of Belgium. All of Belgium has no national tourist office, only the 2 regions have tourist offices. And as said, super, super close to London, Paris, Amsterdam, Cologne, by train or by car. In no time, you're right there. The 6 major cities are Brussels, the capital of Europe, capital of Belgium, capital of Flanders, right in the middle here, symbolized by the structure here, the atomium. Then over at the coast, we got Bruges. And between Bruges and Brussels, we have Ghent. To the north, we got the seaport city of Antwerp. And then on 2 smaller cities around Brussels, to the north, Mechelen. And then to the east, we got Leuven. So very important, once your clients are in Europe, it's very, very easy to get to us. So in the past, we've always talked about the 6 major cities, but wait, there's more. There's, for example, also the coast. The coast is really easy to reach because the whole destination is so small. It doesn't really take a long time to travel to the coast. You find a very relaxing atmosphere where you can go hiking and walking around the beaches. It's family friendly. You're out there in the nature. You have a tranquil environment if you want to have a tranquil beach. But you can also have the regular beach experience. And yes, this is Belgium. A lot of people don't think that this country can have nice sandy beaches. They think, oh my God, I have to travel to the Caribbean. But no, we also do have sandy beaches. The coastal area is also great to see a UNESCO World Heritage. What you see is actually shrimp fishing on horseback, which is an intangible UNESCO World Heritage. So they do ride out into the sea on horseback and they have nets and they pull those nets and that's how they fish for shrimp in a very traditional manner. Of course, it does not support nowadays a lifestyle anymore. It's just more or less done for touristic reasons. Of course, there's also modern shrimp fishing out there, but this is just for historic preservation, UNESCO World Heritage reasons. You also find the coast is very rich in art. You find a lot of art installations, art projects, temporary art projects, also art galleries, famous artists that used to live in coastal cities like James Ensor and Ostend, the city where he used to live in. But you also find a tremendous amount of very nice pubs, bars, and restaurants, and also high-end fine dining restaurants. So the coast is really an area that you should look at if your guests are looking for an off-the-beaten-path experience. Another one is the area of the Flemish Ardennes. This is the southern part. It's also very tranquil. You got the rolling hills, perfect for cycling, for hiking. You got small villages that are nestled in between those hills here. You have also national forests like Hellerbos, which is just south of Brussels. So you have the capital of Europe, a relatively big city, and then not too far, just a couple of minutes outside of Brussels, you got this national forest park, which is also very nice, especially in springtime with the flowers blossoming for hiking and family excursions. Another one that we should take a look at are our castles. We have the highest numbers of castles in Europe per square mile, over 3,000 castles. Over 400 of those are accessible to the public, which means 2,600 are private properties. The castles are all over the destination. People traditionally think, yes, of course, it's Ireland and it's Great Britain that has tremendous amounts of castles, but it is actually Belgium if you take the surface area as your measurement. This is a castle here that also houses a very nice art gallery, so you can combine a visit to a castle also with an art gallery visit all in one place. You do find castles out in the countryside, but you also do find castles right in the city, and this is here a castle in Antwerp, and the opening slide of the castles, that was the castle in Ghent. And if your clients think, oh my God, wouldn't it be great to stay in a hotel that was in the castle? Are there any hotels in castles? Yes, there are castles that have been converted to hotels like this one here, Ardennes Hotel. And it's a very nice castle. You can really step back in time and stay in an historic building. Another interesting off-the-beaten-path experience is our dining that I really want to dive into a little bit more detail because it's often overlooked. I present here on this slide an actual quote I received from someone that came with me on a fam trip, and the thinking was, well, Belgium, the food is just meat and potatoes. There's nothing else there. And it's partially right because there is tremendous amount of good meat and good potatoes, like here in that Flemish beef stew. But wait, there is more. Not really. It's not just. There's a lot more than that. And one particular aspect that I wanted to highlight is our Michelin star rated restaurants. And we have 130 Michelin star rated restaurants, and that's the highest number per capita anywhere in the world if you take the population basis. There's one 3-star restaurant, there's 23 2-star restaurants, and there's 106 1-star restaurants. And the food is affordable. A lot of people think, oh my God, I just can't afford to go to Michelin star rated restaurant. I just really like it, but it's just too expensive. I just can't really afford to go there. And the food is affordable. I give you one example. My last Michelin star dinner in Bruges, which was a 1 Michelin star, we had technically 3 courses. Practically, it was 6 because it's always the pre-appetizer before the appetizer and there's the in-between courses. So we had really 6 courses. And the whole bill for the dinner, just for the food portions, came out to be €59 a person. So €59 is quite an affordable rate when you think it, you convert it to US dollars. It's probably just a little bit over $60, $65, $66 at the current exchange rate. So that is very, very affordable to eat at a Michelin star rated restaurant at this price. Moving on to cycling, I said I wanted to spend a little bit more time on cycling. Because the network is really extensive. There's a dedicated cycling road network that was built just for the cyclists, and the whole network is over 7,500 miles long. So there's a tremendous amount of cycling roads, cycling path. It can be paved, unpaved, it can be in the city, it can be out in the countryside. And it really opens up a wide door for cycling for all skill and interest levels. You want to do a little bit more sportive cycling, you own maybe a custom built carbon fiber bike, then come with your buddies, 20, 30 people, just haul all your bikes over there, get your cleats, your shoes, your goggles, your helmets, and then you're out riding and you have a great time. But it's also mostly flat. So that's also then cycling for everyone else that is not into sport of cycling. Just put on a pair of jeans, some sneakers, get a bike rental, and then you're just out there, cycle in the city, cycle in the countryside, cycle between cities. It's really easy. You can do that. You can cycle between Bruges and Ghent. You can cycle from Ghent to Antwerp. You can cycle from Antwerp down to Brussels. It's all doable. And as you can see here, you're away from the roads. There's no cars. You're on a dedicated cycling road network. It's along the canals. It's flat. It's easy. And of course, you can also combine cycling with other activities. For example, you can do an art-related exploration and then just get a couple of bikes and then explore some old villages, explore some art installations. That photo was actually taken about 2 years ago on a tour that I was on, and then we explored some old farmhouses in Bokrek. Cycling-friendly accommodations, a lot of bed and breakfast places, hotels. They do offer bike storage, so you don't have to worry, oh my God, where do I put my bike? I don't know, do I need to bring it to a room? Do they have special storage? Yes, a lot of hotels do have bike storage facilities available, and you can easily store your bike, no questions asked, everything is safe and sound. And most importantly, the drivers, meaning car drivers, they are aware of cyclists. You might think, oh my God, I live in New York and cycling is just dangerous. Yes, I tend to agree. New York can be crazy for cyclists, but over there in the morning, you might drive a car and then in the afternoon, you're on your bike yourself. So basically everyone that drives the car also rides a bike, so they know how to behave, they know how to pay attention. They let people cross when there's a green light, they stop the car, they give you ample of space, so it's really nothing to be afraid of. Let's quickly talk about also shopping because there's 2 or 3 different locations that really come to mind. For example, Antwerp is really suitable very much for diamond and fashion shopping. It's very still big in the diamond trade and diamond cutting. Up to 80% of the world's diamonds are still cut in the city of Antwerp. Also, Antwerp is the third best fashion academy in the world. So a lot of boutique stores for fashion shopping, gloves, shoes, hats, dresses, skirts. Great destination if you want something off the beaten path and something that you can't get in the regular New York, Paris, London, Milan fashion shopping. Brussels, also as the capital, has a lot of stores as well. Then there's Maasmechelen Outlet Village, which is an outlet village in the northern part of Flanders. The exchange rate, of course, is still affordable, so it does not cost you a lot of money. Plus, you do qualify for tax refund. The prices in Belgium, unlike, let's say, in the US, they do include value-added tax, which in Belgium is 21%. And if you're a non-European citizen, a non-EU citizen, you do qualify for a tax refund. You can claim that at the airport, for example, and then you get up to 21% taxes back, depending on what service you use. There might be some processing fee. But then again, remember that there is a lot of opportunities to spend your dollars and just go shopping. Family friendly. Flanders is really like a family friendly destination for a lot of activities for kids. For example, there is a mini Europe site just right next to the Atomium in Brussels. The picture here shows you Mini Europe. What it is basically a collection of different European sites in miniature format. And it's not just that you walk around and just look at the Colosseum and Buckingham Palace and the Eiffel Tower. You also get a very good booklet and audio guide that really explains all the different European heritage sites. You have comic museums. Comics are really big in Belgium, and we get to that at a later point. With children, you can also do cycling, as we just learned. It's really easy to cycle, family friendly. You can take canal boat rides with kids. You can go horseback riding, or maybe explore the coast with the children, the kids. A lot of restaurants do have kids menus available, of course, because they want to drink the Belgian beers and eat the big beef stew or the Michelin star dinner. They want the small portions. And also the city of Mechelen brands itself as the children's city in Dutch Kinderstad. It has a technology museum for children. So there's a lot of activities that are possible even if you have small kids that travel with you. Accessible travel. Accessible travel is a key project of the Flemish government. It's very important that we make the destination accessible for everyone. There is a dedicated department within Visit Flanders that really makes sure that we work with cities, transportation companies, hotels, sites to make the sites accessible. West Flanders was one of our pilot projects, and the accommodations all have accessibility ratings. You also have to imagine it's not an easy project, an easy undertaking, because a lot of the sites are heritage sites. So you just can't knock them down or partially tear them down and just build a modern elevator that takes care of accessibility issues. So it has to be done to balance both interests, the preservation of the building, the preservation of the site, but also making it possible that it becomes an accessible site. Comics are very big in Belgium, as I had pointed out in the family-friendly section here. They're really part of everyday life. Magazine circulation of comic magazines is actually increasing. You think print is dead, print is going out of business, but no, print is alive. Not just only is Jack Facts alive, thank you very much, Doug, but also the comic magazines in Belgium really increasing in circulation. There are comic strip museums, there are events centered around comics. There are comic walks that you can take and find all those different murals, houses, for example, here in Brussels. The Smurfs are Belgian comics, Tintin, Lucky Luke. So it's really also something for the kids that they can explore and learn about. Lots of museums in Belgium, in Flanders. Brussels alone has over 80 museums. For example, the Comic Museum, as I just mentioned, there's an Auto World Museum in Brussels. And I'm just picking some select highlights here because I can't really go through the ton of museums that we have. But the Auto Museum, you can see here in the background, it's a very nice car museum. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's just the right size. They always have changing, rotating exhibitions going on. Then Train World is a very interesting museum in Brussels. A lot of people do not know that the first rail line in continental Europe, so continental Europe does not include the UK because the UK was first, but in continental Europe, the first rail track was actually in Belgium. It was a rail line between Brussels and Mechelen. There's a diamond museum that just opened up 2 years ago in Antwerp. The Royal Institute of Natural Science is actually ranked the 3rd best natural science museum in the world. That one is also in Brussels. There's, of course, museums around food, the Fry Museum, the Chocolate Museum, the Beer Museum, and of course, because it's Antwerp and the 3rd best fashion academy, the Fashion Museum. And last but not least, since we're so heavy also on the art, a tremendous amount of art museums, Royal Museum of Fine Arts, Modern Art Museum, and so on. Let's just talk about more than just beer, because people think, oh yes, it's Belgium and it's beer. It's definitely a beer country. That is correct. But, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say thanks to global climate change. I'm not sure if you should thank global climate change, but Belgium is getting more sun. The summers are getting a little bit warmer, and the Belgian wines are getting better. So there is a very small wine industry in Belgium. As you can see here in the background, the vineyard is not very big, but they do produce some very excellent white wines. Belgian breweries are also getting a lot now into whiskey distilling. For example, a brewery in Mechelen called Het Anker has a very nice single malt whiskey, and also a Belgian gin. On the food side, maybe try some Belgian cheeses. Very hard to get in the US, next to impossible, but in Belgium, very, very good cheeses. Now let's move on, talk about festivals. Festivals are very, very big in Flanders. We even have a quote-unquote product line called Flanders is a Festival, because you can literally go to a festival every single weekend. Music festival, lifestyle festivals, gastronomy festivals, performing art festivals. Here you got Tomorrowland, the world's largest EDM music festival that happens in July. Gay pride festivals in Brussels and Antwerp. Beer festivals here, the Belgian Beer Weekend, first weekend in September on the Grand Place in Brussels. Film festivals, Ghent Film Festival, it's relatively renowned international. You might also have some international actors that come to the festival, like George Clooney, Colin Farrell. So you do have international stars at the festival. Or Ghent also has some very nice music festivals, jazz festival, and also the Flanders Festival. Here you can see Ghent, where the whole harbor area of the medieval harbor in the city gets converted to a stage, and you got performing acts there. You got spectators all lined up on both sides of the city, and just really like taking everything in. So, with that being said, what do you have to do to get to this great destination? Well, you can fly from the US, you can fly from Canada, you can also connect to other European airports and then take the train. But one very excellent way to get to Flanders is actually by TUI. And I have my dear colleague and friend, Cherry Max, that will now take a little bit about the offer that TUI has from Miami to Brussels.
Okay, we should be switching over to Jerry Mac's screen here. There he is.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. And thank you, Marcos. I want to say that we work very closely with Visit Flanders. I represent TUI Fly in the United States. We're their GSA. TUI Fly is part of the TUI Fly Corporation. We're one of the largest companies in the tourism industry in Europe. Basically, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the hidden treasure that is TUI Fly. Here, TUI Fly, we're a member of the largest #1 integrated leisure group, which is TUI Group. Our headquarters are in Ardennes, Belgium. But of course, we are part of a virtual alliance with all our sister companies, which are TUI Fly the Netherlands, Germany, UK, and Nordic. Together, we have a whole fleet of 150 aircraft. In the US market for the GDS, we're on Sabre, Amadeus, WorldSpan, Apollo, and Galileo. We accept Visa, MasterCard, the UATP card, and our 2-letter code is TB. We're the second largest airline in Belgium in size since 2004. We have consistently grown up to 2018. We're at 7.1 million. Our fleet has grown from a fleet of 5 to a fleet of 34. We have the youngest fleet in Belgium at 4.8 years old. We also have the brand new TUI Fly Dreamliner. That's actually quite important because we're using the Dreamliner to fly to the United States. We're providing full service with affordable fares on board the 787 Dreamliner. On economy, we have 30 inches of legroom. We have an entertainment system, Economy Plus at 33 inches, and we also have Premium Club, 37 inches entertainment system. The meal service is in collaboration with the Jeune Restaurant d'Europe, so the cuisine is excellent. These are all the airports that we serve in the Belgium market, from Brussels, Liège, Charleroi, Austin, and Antwerp. And from each one of these airports, we're growing tremendously. Number of destinations that we've grown to is from 42 to over 200. This is our route map. As you can tell, it's pretty extensive. But our #1 service here is we're a hybrid product. We're providing full service with affordable fares all year long. We fly from Miami to Brussels, and our flight departs on Tuesdays at 7:35 at night. So you can work the whole day, and the next day at 11 o'clock in the morning in Brussels, so you have a full day in Brussels. On Saturdays, our flight leaves a little later in the afternoon at 3:40, but you get there the next day bright and early. Again, you have a full day in Brussels. Tuesdays, we depart at Brussels at 1:55 p.m., so you can sleep in, have a nice breakfast, go to the airport, and you're back in Miami at 6:15 at night. Or you can return on Saturdays at 10 a.m. in the morning, and you'll be in the afternoon at 2:20 in the afternoon. You can also, through our system, booking excess baggage, luggage, Premium Club, anything along the lines, you can do it through our booking, our auxiliary services. Nice thing we've also added, you can change your tickets up to 72 hours before the flight for a small rebooking fee. Also, if you do need to buy extra luggage, Fly Deluxe or Premium Club, it's basically done, you send an email, it's done through a reissue of the ticket, and on your PNR, it's an SSR. It's a relatively easy system and can be done very quickly and painless. This I wanted to show also. We also work, as I said, with Visit Flanders. We've done fam trips in the past. As I can see, there are quite a few agents here with Marco. And of course, beer does play a role, Grand Plaza in Belgium. So we're definitely here to help transport everyone to Brussels, whether it's Tomorrowland, whether it's the Gay Pride festivals in May, the beer festivals during the summer. We're always available. We're very friendly, easy to use, and I'm always reachable, if not through myself, also through Marcos. And South Florida market, for anyone, we're the only airline providing direct service from Miami to Brussels. And we always say, TUI Fly, discover your smile in Flanders. Also, this is my information. You can email me, our 1-800 number. Also for travel agents, for groups of 10 or more packs, email us the dates, routing, and number of packs for a quote. Volume producers can also earn time of ticketing commission. Non-GDS users can just register with our US office, and our call center can assist you with bookings. So anything along the lines that we can help you. As I know, I've been to with Marco in Brussels. It's a beautiful country. Flanders, Belgium, the entire region is incredible. It's really one of the hidden gems and the treasures of Europe. And hopefully, with our little treasure of TUI Fly, we can transport you, and you can have an amazing vacation, whether cycling, dinner, castles, whatever suits your fancy. We're there to assist you. Thank you. And if there are any questions, please let me know.
Great. Thanks, Jerry Max. Appreciate that. Marco, I think we will switch back to your screen because we do have some questions and you may need to refer back to your presentation if that works for you.
Sure.
By the way, I like that picture. It's my favorite part of the presentation.
Thank you, Jerry Max.
All right. And just a reminder, too, that today's webinar is being recorded. So if anybody needs to go back and review any of the information, either Marco or Jerry Max has presented, it will be up on our website within the next couple days. That is www.jaxfax.com, and it's under Travel Advisor Training. And now we do have some questions, so let's jump into that. Actually, we have quite a few questions here. Okay, Marco, one of the questions relates to your hidden treasure of the coastline. And the question is, how cold is the water along the coastline? Is it comfortable for swimming?
That's a very good question. It tends to be on the cooler side. Maybe compare it to what you find more in the New England region. So if you're comfortable to go in the water in the New England region, it's definitely not Florida temperature. But again, the perception of temperature is relative. What is cold for one person is just quite okay to another person. I guess what I'm trying to say, it's subjective what a person feels is cold and warm. So yes, it depends. But I said it tends to be more on the cooler side.
Great, thank you. A question regarding the Michelin star restaurants. You mentioned that there are 130 Michelin starred. Are those all in Flanders or are they throughout Belgium?
So the 130 is a reference to Belgium, the whole country, because Michelin does not do a guide that is just for Flanders. They do actually a Benelux guide. The 130 are in Belgium, but the great majority, 2/3, are in our region.
Perfect. And in regards to Michelin star restaurants, somebody's asking, what is the name of the Michelin star restaurant in Bruges that you had spotlighted there?
That restaurant is called Goffin. It's in an old medieval building. It's just on the outskirts of the old medieval city. So it's really like walking distance. If you want the particular address information, I can mail that out as well. But as I said, that generally speaking, regardless of that particular restaurant, the food is not expensive. And that's applicable for all Michelin star rated restaurants. I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, I did a fam trip that was gastronomy focused. It was very heavy Michelin star rated focused. And every night we did a little guesswork, so to speak, by the participating travel advisors that they had to guess. They didn't know how much the cost of the dinner was, and they overestimated on average between 50 to 100%. So the expectation is always, yes, it's expensive, it costs more, and then when the actual bill came in, it's like, oh my God, it's so affordable. I couldn't believe it.
That's great to know. Another question for you. Are electric assisted bicycles generally available for rent?
Yes, they are available. There's different types available in terms of city bikes, mountain bikes. So yes, they are available.
Okay. Do train stations in main cities provide luggage storage?
Some train stations do have lockers where you can store your bag. That is probably like the easiest way to do that.
Okay. Jerry Max, a question for you here. Does TUI Fly have contracts with Virtuoso Air?
No, at the moment we don't have a contract with Virtuoso, but we do have contracts with most of the consolidators in the market, and most of them offer incentives.
Perfect. Okay, Marco, back to you. In one of the first slides, it lists the countries near Belgium. They're asking if you could put that slide up again, if it's easily accessible. And can you also, and while you're doing that, they're also asking if you can talk about chocolates you're known for, and specifically the Chocolate Museum.
So there's different chocolate experiences available. The latest one is actually one in Antwerp that's just opened up right across the train station. And it's basically a self-guided chocolate tour that you can take. There's chocolate museums in Brussels, there's chocolate museums experiences in Bruges, so they're all a little bit different. Also in terms of your chocolate experiences, what I would like to encourage everyone, either go to one of those experiences or museums, add this in. Do not just go into a chocolate store and buy chocolate. Yes, it's great, it tastes great, it's awesome, it's wonderful, but why travel to Belgium to do that all along if you can just go to a local supermarket here in the US and buy the chocolate here? It's the same type of experience. What you should also do is add a chocolate workshop. Several places, chocolatiers, do offer chocolate workshops. You can make your own chocolate. You can learn about the chocolate in a small group. You can also do like chocolate and beer pairing, chocolate sampling. So that is where like the fun part is, build in a chocolate experience, either museum or workshop. And here's the slide with the countries, the destinations. So is that the yellow part, that is Flanders, the dark gray part, that's the French part of Belgium. To the north, we got Holland, Amsterdam by train an hour 50. To the east, we got Germany by train to Cologne an hour 40. Across the aisle, you got the UK with London an hour 48 now. That's the fastest train. To the south of Belgium, not bordering Flanders, is Luxembourg. And then to the west-southwest is France. By train, Paris is the shortest traveled distance, an hour and 22 minutes by train.
Okay, perfect. Jerry Max, back to you. A couple questions regarding TUI Fly. What were the U.S. gateways for TUI Fly? They're inquiring.
So our only gateway is out of Miami International Airport. We fly on Tuesdays and Saturdays. We are seasonal. We're launching our flights on April 4th, and we finish in October 24th.
Okay. And are there any domestic connections, code share or interline agreements with TUI Fly?
No, we don't have any interline connections, but from Brussels, we connect to about 20 cities in Europe. Also for domestic, Belgium is pretty small. So, I mean, it would literally, if we flew to a city, it would take us like 5 minutes. So normally people take the trains within Belgium. An example, when I went to Belgium, I went to Bruges, and the train leaves every 2 hours or so, I would say. It leaves, and it takes about an hour and something to reach Bruges. So, I mean, it's just, the train system is just so great.
Yeah, the trains are actually more frequent than that. It's like almost like every 30, 40 minutes almost you can get around it. It's super easy. Bruges is an hour, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Jerry, Max, would it make sense maybe just to give us some indication on roughly the pricing so
Yeah,
that we can
that's
compare that?
yeah, that would be something I should have mentioned before. We're a very low fare carrier. We're not a low cost, low fare. The difference being is that on your ticket, it's included your luggage, your meal, and our pricing is actually very low. An example, it's not uncommon to get a ticket for between $400 to $500, all taxes included, Miami, Brussels, round trip and economy. So you can actually upgrade to either the Economy Plus or the our club service, or basically, which is our premium economy service. You can do that too, and that usually runs about, give or take, about another about 150 euros per segment, or depending on where the euro is trading, it's probably like about 160, 170. So an extra $340 on top of the 500. So around 850, you could probably fly premium economy or our club service across the pond to Brussels. The nice thing also is we also have a service. We do have a lounge also at the airport, which can be included as an auxiliary service.
Excellent. Okay. Another quick question regarding TUI is, do they take American Express cards for payment?
No, unfortunately, at the moment, we're just on Visa and American Express. No, I mean, sorry, Visa and MasterCard.
Okay, great. And somebody's asking for a list of air consolidators that you work with, particularly on the West Coast. I can send you that information if you'd like to send that to them separately.
I can tell you right now we work with CNH, we work with Trans Am, we work with Centrav, we work with Harry World, we work with Picasso. I know Picasso and CNH are big on the West Coast. We work, I mean, GTT. So I think we're hitting. I'm hitting most of the consolidators out there.
You definitely are. Perfect.
Yeah, and basically they have our contracts, so you go and you will get an incentive booking our flight.
Great. Marco, a question regarding weather. What is the weather in March like? And then I'm going to tie another question into that. No, that's okay. Let's just go with that. Weather in March.
All right. I would like to know the weather in March myself because I am going in March. But based on some historical data, I would assume that's probably in the 50s. Of course, the weather is never predictable. It's a coastal climate, meaning it can change quite frequently. You can have sunshine, then it might be getting a little bit cooler, then you might just have the 2-minute rain shower, and then again the sun is back out again. So in terms of dress code, quote unquote dress code, or what should you bring, flexibility is the number one. So that you can just quickly change over, put a jacket on, get a jacket off. But the climate in general, if you just look beyond March, is not very extreme. Winters are not very cold. If it gets a little bit of a dusting of snow, then that's already unusual. So the winter temperatures, even when it gets cold, stay usually in the 30s. Of course, it doesn't mean that they don't drop in the 20s every now and then. And in the summer, typically they stay in the 70s. But then, of course, with climate change, we've seen now a couple of summers where we had days in the 80s as well. So weather becomes more and more unpredictable, as we can see around the globe. So it's hard to say, okay, that's the temperature at this given time of the year. But generally, I would expect for March, so round about in the 50s.
Okay. Question regarding the castle hotels. What is the best way to search for these options for their clients?
There are various hotel chains, or one particular hotel chain. For example, like the picture that I showed you, that hotel is owned by a local Belgian chain called Martens Hotels. And they focus on hotel property that is in unique, unusual, historic buildings. For example, they own also a former church in Mechelen that has been converted to a hotel. In a monastery, they have a hotel. In this castle, they have hotels. So they're all unusual sites. It's not new constructions. It's always a historic building where the Martens hotel chain has those hotels, and it's like the picture is actually part of that hotel chain. So that is one possibility, and another one, I guess, would be just if you have any particular location, saying, okay, I have a client that is staying close to Antwerp or close to Ghent or whatever the city is, and they're looking for more of a castle to stay, and then reach out to me and I can let you know what's available. Again, just a quick reminder, out of the 3,000 that exist in the country, only 400 are accessible to the public, which means that a hotel is accessible to the public, and 2,600 are literally private personal properties that are not accessible. And fortunately, I do not own one, so that's why I'm here and need to tell you about it.
All right, well, you'll have to work on that. Couple food and drink related questions. Do they serve a lot of seafood in Flanders?
Yes, seafood is very big. So if you were to ask me, so what are the main staples? Yes, there is a lot of meat, as I admitted, but it's not just meat. It's also a lot of seafood. There's a lot of local seafood, a lot of shrimp. Shrimp is very, very popular. The shrimp is typically not the big shrimp that we find over here in the US. It's more like the smaller shrimp. Like shrimp croquette is a very popular appetizer, but also fish is very, very popular. All types of different fish. If you're more adventurous, you can also find very unusual fish that you don't find very much on the US restaurant. Little sidetracking here. I listened to an NPR podcast not too long ago where they talked about seafood, and then I can't remember the exact numbers, but they basically said that only 5 different type of fish or so account for about 80% of the seafood that we consume. So it's a very, very small palette on a nationwide scale. So in Belgium, you find definitely a much, much bigger variety of all different types of seafood.
Okay, great.
And of course, the famous saying, mussels in Brussels.
Mussels in Brussels. I think that's a different kind, but okay. Mutual friend is asking, what is the cocktail scene like in Flanders and particularly Antwerp?
Cocktail scene is up and coming, very big. Particularly Antwerp is a very good place because just again sidetrack a little bit. Each city is unique in its characteristic and makeup. Do not assume because you have been to Bruges, you've seen all the cities and everything else looks exactly like Bruges. Every city is different. And then Antwerp has a reputation of being a little bit hip, in, cool. And what do hip, in, cool places have? They have a lot of cocktail bars. So you find amazing cocktail bars in Antwerp. And one particular one that I wanted to highlight is one that's called Dogma, and it has been rated the best European cocktail bar. So yes, it's definitely alive, it's well, and very innovative cocktails. Again, nothing cookie cutter. They're really trying to be creative in their cocktails and mixology.
All right, great question. I guess it was the same person as before, is asking how you spell the name of that Michelin-starred restaurant in Bruges.
Very good question. How do you spell the name? And I want to make sure I do not screw up the spelling. And let me just, it's Goffin.
Excellent, thank you.
Goffin.
All right. Somebody's asking if you'll have any travel agent fam trips in 2020.
We do have fam trips, but no specific fam trip planned at this time. We arrange all different types of fam trips for tour operators, for agents. Sometimes they're general fam trips, sometimes they're limited to a particular agency, sometimes they're a particular consortia. At this time, I expect that we have a general, quote unquote, general, which means it's open to any advisor, fam trip probably in fall in October.
Okay, I'm sure you'll keep everybody advised about those. Another question, and forgive me, I'm probably going to butcher these names. If you have 6 hours of free time, is it feasible to get to Maastricht, to the Margraten National Cemetery, and back to the airport within 6 hours?
Maastricht is in Holland, so different country. I've never looked at the train connections to Maastricht. 6 hours, it should be doable. I just can't guarantee how much time you have in Maastricht. I've never looked at train travel to Maastricht because that's in Holland. Yeah, not that,
Sure.
you know, I would have to guess it's doable.
Okay, fair enough. What is available in terms of flights from Canada into Brussels?
So from Canada, we got connections from Montreal and Toronto. And basically, these are the only two airports. The three airlines that do fly are Air Canada, Air Transat, that's a seasonal flight, and then Brussels Airlines. Brussels Airlines is only flying out of Montreal. That service will start March 29th. They used to fly out of Toronto, but they're moving over to Montreal. And then Air Canada flies from Montreal and Toronto. And Air Transat is a seasonal flight out of Montreal, but with the anticipated merger of Air Canada and Air Transat, it remains to be seen what happens to the Air Transat brand flight. Can't say anything about that right now.
Okay. A question regarding the KLM flight from LA to Brussels. Is it nonstop or does it stop in Amsterdam, if you know?
We have no nonstop flight from the West Coast, so the KLM flight from LAX to Amsterdam must just be KLM LAX to Amsterdam. There might be, of course, the continuation and the possibility to fly from Amsterdam to Brussels. So if somebody wants to do that, it's doable, or you just hop on a train right from Amsterdam airport to Brussels, also very feasible and maybe slightly more ecological nowadays to do that.
Okay. Just a couple more questions here. One for Jerry Max. Does TUI Fly participate in any airline frequent flyer programs?
No, at this moment, we don't have any frequent flyer programs. Basically, we try to keep things really simple, and that's how we keep our prices extremely low.
Fair enough. And Marco, what is the best city for foodies, in your opinion?
The best place for food is my mom's kitchen, but no, all joking aside, if you purely go by the number of Michelin star rated restaurants in the area, then it would be Bruges. Bruges has one of the highest densities of Michelin star rated restaurants in the world, if you just take it on the city level. But by all means and purposes, the food is good everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in Antwerp, in Ghent, in Bruges, in Brussels, or if you're in the middle of the countryside, because also a lot of the high-end restaurants are literally in the middle of nowhere. They're in a small village, they're in a small farm site, they're in the middle of wherever, and food is just tremendously good all over the place. But if he had to pick just one, if you need to pin me down, then it would probably be Bruges.
Okay, great. And somebody's asking for your mom's address and phone number.
Top secret, sorry.
All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for all the questions and today's webinar. Thank you again, Marco and Jerry Max, for your presentations. And thank you to all the travel advisors who participated and asked a lot of great questions. We all appreciate that. So this is going to wrap things up. Please watch your email for future training sessions. Wishing everyone a great end of your day, and we will see you all next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you guys.